Welcome to my review of Ted Lasso, Season 3, Episode 2, titled open parentheses, I don't want to go, close parentheses, Chelsea. But first, give this video a like, share, even comment your thoughts about the episode down below, and consider subscribing. And you know what? Even check out the wrestling reviews, because God knows, wrestling needs more fans. So yeah, this review will be divided into non-spoiler and spoiler. I'm gonna let you know when that happens, and you can watch the episode first and then come back. Come back, please. So finally, the season has started, transfer window is still open, and they managed to turn around one of the worst stories coming out of episode 1. We get massive character development from multiple people, as well as a chess match in order to sign this new guy on a free transfer. And this new guy they introduce, the effect he will have in the locker room will be a joy to watch. Because this guy not only looks like a very popular and divisive current player, but he also acts and speaks the same way. And they tease so many exciting things to come for this last season that I think it could only end in one way. And that if they don't win the Premier League, I think this show will be a bust. It'll be a Game of Thrones ending if they lose. So yeah, let's get to the spoiler part, which will make most of the episode. So this episode is divided into 3 stories. The main one is the Zava signing. This will eventually contribute to their championship win, hopefully, since this is the last season. And apparently, real-life players don't exist in this show, in this whole universe. There's a lot more parity in the Premier League than in real life. The other 2 stories are branches from the Roy and Keeley breakup, which I didn't like from the last episode. So first branch is Keeley's friend and her new company, and the second one is Trent and Roy's rivalry. So for the main story, we have the Zava signing, where we have a really good but tumultuous player who's pretty much a clone of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and I think they chose the right dude since he's been in America. He has a personality that transcends football, as well as I think will be a great dynamic to add in this already 100% all-in rah-rah locker room. I want to see his interactions with Jamie, who is hinting at problems, with Danny, who's just a massive fan, as well as the whole coaching staff, and even the 3 fans in the bar. You know those 3 fickle fans? Paul, Baz, and Jeremy. They build this whole story as Rebecca coming out of Rupert's shadow. Because I think this is where we definitively get a win. Not a personal or secret win, a definitive win against Rupert, who doesn't come out looking good in the end. So this starts when Rebecca is told she has problems by her mother, which then leads to Rebecca talking to Keeley about Rupert's methods on how they met, and it comes off with such nostalgia, and it's almost like there's still love there, even if it's wrong, and it shows that Rupert has his claws still deep in her. Even if she says she hates him, she just can't shake him off. They have this small chess match in order to convince Zava to join their teams, and when in each other's presence, Rupert just bodies Rebecca. He just hits her with combos of veiled insults and flexing. She falters a bit, but then she finally steps up to the paint and manages to convince Zava by questioning his character, giving him a challenge to win in this small team, which I think is going to be a consistent cloud over Zava's head. Throughout this episode, people are going to be using that against him. He announces his signing in this press conference for Chelsea, but Rupert thinks he's going to sign for West Ham, but he ends up signing for Richmond. And this is just so Zlatan. Except for the part of being convinced by Rebecca. I think the real Zlatan is more convinced of himself. But he did help lead Milan to a championship. So I guess he's proven himself. But Zava here is in that path. Just the interactions with Ted, man. Ted has never dealt with anyone like this before. I can't wait for the effect on the locker room. The game sequences are alright. They hide how slow the actual playing is with these actors, but the zoom-ins and the close-ups hide that pretty well. The game looks okay enough. It ends with a draw though, which I think adds more spice to the Zava storyline, since dude will probably sign with whoever wins. If it's a tie, it goes to West Ham, and then it ended in an actual tie. But he went for Richmond. I like that they filmed in actual Stamford Bridge, but I really want them to go to these legendary stadiums like Anfield, Old Trafford, and I guess Craven Cottage as well. But Tony Khan is partnered with HBO, so I don't know about that. We'll see. It's a bit unrealistic, though, that West Ham is being positioned as like a top table club. I'm going to double down on they should have picked Spurs or Chelsea. It would have made all the sense in the world. But West Ham, really? Like a team that is in relegation now. It's just laughable. And it's also unrealistic that a player like Zava signs with like a newly promoted side. But I guess nobody wanted him. They got him for free. Chelsea's in a bad place right now. And Rupert just wants to keep him away from Richmond. So yeah. And I think it's nice to live a fantasy where something like this happens. Because in real life, it's just Real Madrid, Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern Munich. Those teams just get whoever they want. If we can't have parity in the Premier League in real life, we'll have it in Ted Lasso. So the next storyline is the one with Keeley, Shandy, and Barbara, where Keeley's still getting used to her workplace. Her workmates all have sticks up their you-know-whats. And she nepotism hires her old friend who she hasn't really seen, doesn't really know how she is these days. She's just going off of nostalgia as well as seeing Shandy display a little bit of talent. Barbara pushes back. She belittles Sandy. She comes off as the heel at the start. But by the end, when Barbara falls in line, it's hinted that Shandy might not be the best person. She might end up using Keeley. She might end up ruining the company, taking over the company, which I doubt, since Barbara's gonna be on her ass the whole time. This is just a bomb that's waiting to go off. It's the least important storyline, but standards are high in this show, so it's still really good. And for the last storyline, it's Roy and Trent. So Trent Krim, who used to work for The Independent, is now going to be part of the Richmond family since he decides to write this book about the team in their championship season because it has to end that way. But of course, things heat up when Trent and Roy meet, who don't have the nicest of relationships, and it's because of this true-to-life dynamic between sports athletes, even wrestlers, and the media that covers them. Trent Krim wrote comments about Roy when he was younger in order to get clicks or views, whatever was back in the day. And Roy not moving on from this for all of his career and a year and a half from his coaching debut. Or is it just a year or less than a year? I forgot. And in this, we see how respected Roy is to the team because they all just go with him, even Jamie. And yeah, as for Jamie, he's moved on so much from the character he was in Season 1. We get to see more of him here than in Season 2, but here he's completely bought into Roy, Ted, and Coach Beard's system, and he joins in on the mandate made by Roy to ignore Trent. And it's not only that, but dude respects Roy so much that he's not gonna go after Keeley. Even if rules state that if a girl breaks up with someone, she's free game. Not anymore, not with Jamie. And Ted in this storyline, my god, from Season 1 to Season 2, with how disrespected he was. Now with just one word, by just talking to Roy once about getting over it, thinking about the greater good, and then Roy agrees, talks to Trent, reveals this note where he wrote Trent's comments in, from years ago at his rookie year, his first professional game, and then finally talks about it with Trent. We get a conversation that will never happen in real life between athlete and journalist, and Roy moves on. And I think that is the whole message of this episode. It's about moving on and forgetting the past. Everyone is a goldfish in this episode, except maybe Keeley. And the episode ends with a hint that Roy's coming back. I'm 100% in now. This is it. They're gonna win. Roy's gonna come back. It's a fairy tale story. They don't have to finish fourth like in real life. Or get relegated like in real life. And oh yeah, as for the funniest scene in Ted Lasso history, It's the one in the locker room, and I think it'll have a greater effect if you watch it yourselves. It's comedy writing at its finest. Just know that it has many moving parts. It involves the team being told and reacting to things, and just perfect comedic timing when people decide to enter and exit the scene. So yeah, this is a 10 out of 10 episode for me. This might be in the top 5. So yeah, that's it for this recap and review. Tune in for next week for the next one. And check out my wrestling reviews as well as Lucky Hank and Legends of the Vox Machina. I'm gonna do that very soon. Might not do Rainy Dogs. I mean, it's a good show, but it's too heavy. Not in the mood for that heavy stuff. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.